The game just finished. Brentford 1, West Ham 1. And I'm on my own today because it's a pre-record. Chris is out. I couldn't wait to do it later, so because I'm going out as well. I thought that was an absolutely brilliant performance, actually. Really, really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it from start to finish. If you're being picky, we got caught out early on, very early on. And you got to say, I mean, there were several mistakes. There were several mistakes of that goal. Firstly, listen, Brentford always start sharply. My glasses are crooked. There we go. Brentford always start sharply. And they started sharply today. They got after Emerson, who was clearly a vulnerability. Now, whether he's still carrying that knock that he got a couple of games ago, I don't know. But he got done for pace down the right hand side in the first 30 seconds. Well, first 20 seconds, right? We should have seen that come in. A lot of pace down the right hand side. He should have surely dropped off a little bit deep instead of letting that get into a foot race against that guy. Anyway, the ball goes across. Tadibo gets his head on it. And unfortunately, at the back stick, I think what you'll find, I do actually have the still frame edit to prove this, but I can't show you. Wan-Bissaka didn't react. He did not react. The player who ends up crossing it for Buemo to score the winner, sorry, the first goal, he comes from behind Wan-Bissaka. Wan-Bissaka just doesn't see him there. He's not awake. It's early on in the game, he's not awake. It was the only mistake I think that Wan-Bissaka made. Other than that, he had a fantastic game, I thought. It was just such a shame. It was such a shame that we got hit with another early sucker punch, right? We keep doing it to ourselves. We keep doing it to ourselves all the time. And maybe next week we won't let an early goal in, but that is 4 times inside the first 10 minutes that we've let a goal in. By the way, apologies for my background and my missing a neon sign, which will be coming back next week. Not that you care, but there you go. That's why it looks so crap. But anyway, let's talk about the game from that point on. And I thought that Brentford, they started pushing, they carried on pushing. We looked pretty good defensively, apart from there was a reoccurring vulnerability down that side with Emerson. But the rest of the defence I thought was solid. Wan-Bissaka, he made one really good clearance where the ball came across and he got a toe on it to stop the Brentford player having a clear shot at goal. And there was also another time where a cross came in and it was on, I don't know who the Brentford player was, but it was right on his head, right in front of goal. And basically Wan-Bissaka booted him in the mouth and also cleared the ball out, which must have hurt. But 2 examples of where having an absolute top quality right back, well, firstly, it cost us a goal, but he saved 2 other goals. That kept us in the game and it allowed us to build from there. And I thought the forward play looked good. Kudus came into the game in the second half. I was a bit disappointed early on, especially you'll remember that really lackluster shot that he hit with his right foot. It was like he was sulking because he was on the left again. He hit the thing with his right foot, and then he just stood there like he weren't bothered. And I don't like that because body language matters. Body language matters in football. You should be angry with yourself at least when you do something like that. And he wasn't. He wasn't. Just walked around. He didn't seem to be helping out Emerson. Now, whether that was the reason why they were hooked at half time or not, I don't know. But for the rest of that half, I thought we pushed forward really well. Mickey put in a hell of a shift. He was stretching defence all around the place. I thought Soucek really played to... When you use Soucek, I have no problem with using Soucek as long as you use him properly. And I think in this game, he was deployed properly because he made some really cracking interceptions in that first half. And he also got forward. I remember he played a cross from the right-hand side. He sort of got down there on the overlap, which was a bit of a strange thing to see. But he put in a really good low cross as well and no one on the end of it. And I thought all of the attacking players, including Paqueta, who looked almost back to the old Paqueta today, I've got to say, he looked really up for it and really interested. And but he was in the middle and he was being strangled a little bit. It didn't seem to have much freedom and much space, right? Bowen, very, very, very busy, very busy. Antonio, very busy. Kudus, very, very good second half for the first half. So he got a couple of shots away. He slowly built up until we were starting seeing the old Kudus. But it was a bit of a slow start from him, though, I've got to say. But again, I'm not going to defend the substitutions because that is up to Lopetegui to do that. And I think at the time when the substitutions were made, I called Soler on for Rodriguez, because I thought, again, even though I loved Rodriguez deeply after the Fulham game, I think I saw enough in the Chelsea game to realise, we've got a problem there, because we saw again today. I think the guy's been found out, and I think once you get found out in the Premier League, all the managers know about it. All the managers will target you, right? It's like they targeted Emerson as literally the only weak link in that defence today, and it worked, right? Thomas Frank got that right. I've always said that Emerson is not such a great defender. He's great going forward. He ain't got much of a final ball, but he's great going forward. He's very good in the overlap. He's very good at working that left-hand side, for instance, with Paqueta. But having said that, he shouldn't be getting into a foot race with that player. He should be. He's won a lot of trophies in his career. Highly decorated player. He shouldn't be putting himself in that position where he's desperate and having to chase after the player. But anyway, look, enough moaning. I thought we went in at 1-0 down. I thought we were good value for that, and I was pleased we were still in the game, right? We were still in the game. And it was the second half when the changes were made. First of all, we saw Kudus go off, which again, because he was probably finishing the first half as our strongest attacking player, we saw him go off, and we saw Soler come on and at first be put up front. Sort of, he was running around. I kind of wondered if he would come on as a second striker, but clearly he hadn't. But what it turned out was he was going to actually move Loppy. He was going to move Paqueta over to the left hand side, and I've got to say, immediately he did that. Paqueta came to life. So I don't know whether that was the right substitution or not, but he's changed basically the whole left-hand side. He pulled Emerson out, and again, I agreed with that. And I think what he ended up doing there, I think defensively, it was an absolute masterstroke, because he's put Wan-Bissaka on the left. Wan-Bissaka seems to love playing down the left, even though he's a right-back. I mean, his attacking play was brilliant second half, absolutely brilliant. He looks so tricky down there, doesn't he? So unorthodox. He must be a nightmare to try and defend against. He's a great defender, but he must be a nightmare when he's running at you, right? No, you don't know which way he's going to go, do you? So he went left. Todibo, who I thought was really strong. Some people are saying he is a bit of a weak header for the first goal. I don't think so. I think he got his head on it. It was early in the game. He did get his head on it. He was awake. I do blame Wan-Bissaka for that. But if you look at that, Kilman was back to his best. Todibo had a very, very solid game. Then he put Mavropanos on as right back. And I was really delighted to see that, because that's something I've been asking for quite some time, right? Because I don't want to see Soufal out there. And we've seen Mavropanos play right back before, and he's very good at it. And so it proved. He looked rock solid and able to get up and down the pitch, because he's not slow either. He's not slow. He even had a shot at goal, didn't he? Wild. If you look back at his show reels, by the way, he scored some of them in the past. He actually ain't bad in those positions. So I don't resent him having a go at that. And I was so pleased with the way that defence. You've got to say, the way Brentford attacked us, they're a good team. They're still a good team. And in the second half, the way they attacked us, the way they threw the fucking kitchen sink at us after we equalised, for about 25 minutes, it was a sustained pressure, right? Including a couple of really ridiculous dives where they tried to nick a penalty, dirty cheats. But yeah, if that was last year's defence, we're losing that game 3 or 4-1. So I've got to give enormous credit to Lopetegui for getting that defence right. He plugged the gap. He plugged the vulnerability, which was Emerson. Emerson, for one reason or another, whether he's unfit, still carrying on, whatever, he was the vulnerability. Lopetegui sensed that and changed it at half-time. So well done on that. The Kudus one, I couldn't see the sense in it at the time. But then almost immediately the change happened. You could see Paqueta was suddenly, he had the freedom of that left-hand side and the central positions. He was roaming. He was being old Paqueta, right? He was doing damage. And that's exactly what we want to see Paqueta doing. And I've got to say, the goal, when you watch it back, the number of little intricate passes, I think it ended up being, finding its way through to Soucek, who scored, a great goal, done his spinny celebration. Great reward from Soucek for his efforts today, because I thought he was one of our better players. Really, really good performance. Maybe, just maybe, he's found how to use Soucek properly. Because unlike many people, I don't think Soucek's a liability. I think he's a liability when he's used in the wrong way, but when he's used in the right way, there's a player there, right? There's a player. There's a player there. But going back to the build up to that goal, a lot of lovely, intricate little passes there. Paqueta, Antonio, Bowen, and it ended up with the chance presenting itself to Soucek, and he doesn't miss from there, does he? So really, really delighted, and it was great to hear the crowd singing "Super Tommy Soucek" after that, because I think sometimes he must look at social media and think people hate him, but that's not really what you hear ever inside the ground. I've never heard it once. No matter how bad he's played, I've never heard anyone sort of get on his back. They might sigh when he does the odd thing wrong or something like that, but I don't. It's not like a sustained dislike for the guy. They really like him. These glasses are really bothering me. By the way. Right. From there, he made, yet more changes. He made yet more changes, and clearly 1-1 is not 1-1 away to Brentford. Lopetegui is not happy with 1-1 away to Brentford. He wanted to try and win the game, and I did, sadly, I did call that Mickey was. By the way, we're in a WhatsApp group with Claire and Bodger and Chris, so they know I said all this, right? They know I said all this. I'm not lying, right? Mickey was knackered. Mickey was knackered. He was out on his feet. He'd run his legs off. That was a great performance from Mickey as a hold-up player. Did really well holding the ball up, put himself about, made his presence felt, right? Again, he ain't really a striker anymore, is he? But you give him that job to do, like he did against Man City, he'll do it, and he did it. And that's really all you can do. All you can say is that if you give him a job to do and he does it, well done, Mickey, right? Can't have a go at him for who he is or how old he is, can you? But yeah, he went off. Danny Ings came on, and we're thinking, memories of Fulham. Is he going to come on and be the hero again? And then he took Paqueta off and brought Somerville on. So that was a straight like-for-like replacement. I think by this time, Paqueta had been through that phase of where he was really, really hurting the opposition. And when he got taken off, he weren't happy about it, right? But I like that. I like a player to not be happy about it. Fact is, he's put in a performance today, which is, to me, his best performance of the season so far by a long way. And I'm pretty sure Lopetegui would be telling that afterwards. All the players, as one, they clearly haven't given up on this manager. And I haven't given up on this manager either. In fact, when you look at what we've achieved this year so far, you can paint all the negatives you like. And up until... well, even including when we played our B team against Liverpool's B team in midweek. But gloss over that. Think back to Chelsea last week. Chelsea was rubbish. It was poor tactics. It was a really bad idea. But he's just trying stuff. He's trying stuff. And today he tried stuff and it worked. I said the other night that there was something that I'd heard, which was around our forward players only passing in amongst themselves to each other. I look back at the video of Chelsea game. That's exactly what happened. I didn't realise it was, but we were getting overlaps, and now Bowen and Antonio and everybody, they were not giving the ball to the overlapping players. Today they did. And that made a massive difference, actually. It made a massive difference. It made us look much, much more dangerous up front. Yes, we only scored one. But to get a point away to Brentford, who are sitting in 12th at the moment, they're beating a lot of teams at home. Usually when they score, when they win a game, they're scoring 3 goals, right? I mean, they've beaten quite a few teams conclusively. Gave Spurs a very good game last week as well. They are no mugs. It doesn't matter about their injury situation. He's got them so drilled, he can just swap a part out and another part comes in and does the job. He's a wise old manager who I'd love to boot up the arse because he just never, make him spit his chewing gum out. He irritates me. He only irritates me because he always gets one over on us, typically. He didn't get one over on Lopetegui today. And that's the first time I've seen that at Brentford in the league where he was up against someone who could match him tactically. Not only match him, but he had to bring on subs to try and nullify what Lopetegui had done. Not the other way round. You know how this usually unfolds, right? Against Moyes. Last year, was it last year? Yeah, I think it's last year. We went in 2-1 at half time. Should have been 3-0, 4-0, but it was 2-1 at half time. Thomas Frank changed some stuff around at half time. They come out, they're all over us. They beat us 3-2 at a canter. It could have been 4-2, could have been 5-2. They battered us because with Moyes, he didn't know how to react to the changes, or he was slow to react. He kind of made his changes or decided he's going to bring someone on in 70 minutes. It doesn't matter what the other manager did. He was going to stick to his plan because the David Moyes plan is always the right plan, right? It wasn't, was it? Because we got slaughtered. Today, we didn't get slaughtered. He actually matched, and probably to some degree. I mean, he'd done some really unpopular stuff there in terms of taking Paqueta off, in terms of taking Kudus off. We're all moaning about Kudus being taken off. Lo and behold, Paqueta is involved and we score and we equalise. So can you say that was a wrong decision? Probably not. Take Paqueta off, and then Jimmy later on plays that ball through, which Bowen just about gets muscled out of. So again, that could have been a winner, right? So was it the bad thing to do? No. Paqueta had done well. He'd played 75 minutes, 80 minutes, whatever it was. What's the harm in giving Jimmy a little run out on the left-hand side? Because Jimmy didn't deserve to be dropped. Really, did he? So I don't disagree with that at all. And I also don't agree with that you should have all your flair players on the pitch at once, because sometimes it just don't work. Look at what happened when you take Kudus off. Paqueta's got more space to be creative. And I ain't saying they shouldn't play together, by the way. Don't take it as that. As I'm saying now, I still think they should be on the right, and Paqueta maybe his home is on the left, like we were all moaning about last year. Because in the centre, I think if he can play on the left and drift into the centre, it's a lot more effective than having him isolated on the left where he was last year, or stuck in the middle with a player either side of him taking responsibility for those wide areas. If he can move with the ball, I think he's a very difficult player to mark, and he's a different proposition, right? So I think I'd find it difficult getting a 1-1 draw against Brentford to criticise that result. I'm happy with it. Happy for the first time this season, first minute aside, first 30 seconds aside, I'm happy with the entire performance, right? 2 halves. That is a massive step in the right direction at home to Ipswich next week. Now, I just want to bring something home to you. For those who were saying, and look, I was angry after the Chelsea game, I was angry after the Liverpool game, and I think it's totally forgivable to, as a supporter, as a fan, to be angry after losing a football match. But then when the dust has settled the following day, you got to look at it and see the big picture. And I think Chris and I made a live show the other night, and there was a small handful of comments to that video, and they were saying, we've only lost to good sides. And when you look at it, it's true. The games we've lost this year are to the teams who are 1st, 3rd and 5th in the Premier League. And the one that was 5th, Villa, we lost them the first game of the season when we just weren't ready. He's experimented almost every game because he's trying to find the right, who's going to play his system, what all these parts, who's going to play in the right places, what's going to work best. I think he's slowly stumbling across it. Again, he was out without Fulkrug today. His only striker, really, his only first choice striker. So limited options. Hopefully, when we play Ipswich next week, that's time for Fulkrug to slot into that team as well. I think that's the first time next week against Ipswich that we're going to see the actual, the finished product, as in the team that he would select. Alvarez will be back in. Rodriguez will be out, I expect. Paqueta, Kudus. I think that's a dilemma. Who plays on the left? Who plays in the middle? I think he's still got to figure that one out. But having said that, you've got to start from the back, and you've got to be solid at the back, and you cannot concede shitty goals against good sides. We've got a bit of respite in that we played Brentford today, and we're playing Ipswich next week. It's not until the week after when we play, or the week after that when we play Tottenham, and then Man United, I think, where these are teams who will punish you if you do give them that early goal. It's difficult to get back into the game, right? So we've got to take that out. We've got to stop that. But today was a huge step in the right direction. I'll take you back. We've lost to the 1st, the 3rd, and the 5th place teams in the Premier League. Does anyone think that's disgusting? Unacceptable? He's got to go. He should be fired. I've seen enough. What do you reckon? Don't you think you're being a little bit harsh if you're saying that? Yes, I know the football was rubbish. I know the tactics were rubbish. I know these selections were questionable. But sometimes these substitutions gave you a little sense of, maybe he knows what he's doing. I didn't think that after the Chelsea game last week. The other games, we've played 3 others. We've beaten Palace, which we lost 5-0 away last year. We've drawn with Fulham. We lost that 5-0 away last year. we've drawn away at Brentford. We got beat there as well last year, right? That's 3 games that we've got points out of. That's 5 points we didn't have last year. Yes, I know we beat Chelsea last year when they were in disarray. They're not in disarray this year. They're third, right? This is mega bag, money bags Chelsea again with a decent manager doing really what they should be doing. So you can't compare those two, to be honest. And David Moyes can fuck off. I didn't hear, I didn't hear him commenting. Did you? I know I'm going off at a tangent now, but it was like a flashback to the bad old days. You had Andy Gray and Richard Keys flanking David Moyes. He's got a grin all over his face after we've just been beaten at home by Chelsea, and he recounts all of the great nights and days when we've beat Chelsea under his tenure, and it is objectively a fact that happened, but also it's objectively a fact that Chelsea have been crap for several years, right? There were a few which were unexpected results, great results. I'm not going to take all the credit away, but what he failed to mention, apart from gloating about how he gets home results against Chelsea, he didn't say we got stuffed 5-0 at Palace and Fulham last week and he's got points. And he probably would have mentioned that he's got a decent result at Brentford now as well against a manager who completely had the measure of him. Thomas Frank knew how to deal with David Moyes. He didn't have a fucking clue what to do, right, against him. So look, this takes me back to myself, and I'm gonna basically go along with those comments, those very, very wise comments from a very small handful of people actually, who are a bit more patient than I've been. I need to get back to being patient because I now feel sure that this is going in the right direction. And I think next week we're going to see, something quite decent against Ipswich. I genuinely hope so. I think we're going to take him to the cleaners. I think full crew's going to get off the mark. And I think that's going to set us nicely up for the following game against Spurs. So it's a shame that we're out of the cup. Really is. But then again, it was a fixed draw. What are you going to do? And no VAR. We never had a chance, right? So put that down to history. Let's focus on the league. Let's focus on the league and try to get ourselves up at the table and back into Europe. Because I think playing like this with this quality of player, I think we can do it, and I think we will do it. If I go through the I don't want to do player ratings. I'll do it another day. I can't do that by myself, can I? It's a thing to do when you've got a live show. But yeah, all in all, I'm very happy, and now I'm going away for the weekend with my wife. And no, off a weekend, just a night actually. I was a bit optimistic, and gonna have a good time. But I'm feeling good. I woke up feeling optimistic this morning, and I'm going away for the night feeling even more optimistic now. Really pleased because after this week, he must have been thinking, Lopetegui, what the hell have I come to here? You got the chairman briefing so-and-so, you got the director of football briefing so-and-so, you got them briefing against each other. That was the classic, wasn't it? Where Sullivan, after Somerville, was obviously the star of the show last week against Chelsea. Didn't take much to be a star of that show, but anyway, right, he's clearly told Mr. Whetstone that Tim was responsible for signing every player except Jimmy, except Somerville. Bit of a coincidence, don't you think? That he played well, and then you're just going to take credit for that one player. It's textbook, isn't it? It's textbook. But I hate the fact that Tim Stein has been briefing and saying, I didn't choose Lopetegui and stuff like that. Come on, have some respect, mate. It's hard enough, this job, to be a new manager with 3/4 of a new team. Give the guy a chance, get behind him. I hope that's just the press making shit up and it hasn't come from Tim, because I would expect more from Tim. I wouldn't expect more from David Sullivan, but I would expect more from Tim. So that's it. Rant over. I'm going to go and have a good night now. Probably get quite drunk as well. So see you soon. Come on, you wines.